When you're making espresso, it's important your machine is fully heated up and temperature stable. Fast Heat is a new feature on many machines from Profitec and ECM that can cut warm-up time by as much as 20 minutes for their dual boiler machines. Hey espresso lovers, Mark here from Whole Latte Love. Today a look at Fast Heat. It's a feature on these currently shipping machines from Profitec, the single boiler Go, and their dual boilers, the Pro 300, Pro 600, and Drive. On ECM machines, you get Fast Heat on currently shipping single boiler Classicas and Puristicas, the dual boiler Synchronica, including the special limited edition AMG Synchronica. So I'll show you how Fast Heat works, how it can have even larger dual boiler machines stable and ready to brew in just 10 minutes. I'm going to talk about why temperature is important. We're going to look inside an E61 group to see why it takes machines so long to heat up. I'm going to cover what you can do to speed up the heat up if you don't have Fast Heat, plus touch on a best practice for better temperature stability. So why is that temperature so important? You know, you'll get the most out of a particular coffee by brewing it at the right temperature. Now, that coffee and espresso brew temperature range, it's like 195 to 205 Fahrenheit. So you use the cooler end of that range for darker roasts typically, and the hotter end for lighter roasts. So have a look at this big old E61 brew group. About 9 pounds of metal here. This one's cut away so that you can see what happens in this group. Now, there's a thermosiphon here that runs out to the boiler as the machine's heating up, and all the time really, and back to the boiler. It heats this area up here and the whole group. Now, it takes that thermosiphon a while to do that. Then when you go to brew, what happens is the water's gonna come, your brew water's gonna come out of here, down through the mushroom, up through this little channel, out this other little channel, and down onto your coffee. So even when your boiler is showing it's up to temperature, it might be another 20 minutes or so before that thermosiphon flow of an E61 group has fully warmed up the 9 pounds of metal to a stable temperature. And even in smaller machines with ring groups, it can be 5 to 10 minutes after the boiler is up to temperature to reach stable, full heating of all the group components. So if your group head is not fully heated, when that water from the boiler flows through it, it's going to end up colder than what you intended. And you know what's going to happen with cold brew water? Yeah, you're probably going to end up getting some sour shots and under extractions from that. You know, you're not going to be making good coffee, but I'll show you a technique and best practices that can help you speed up the heat up. So how does a Fast Heat function work to get things warmed up faster? Again, it's available on a bunch of machines from Profitec and ECM. On Profitec, you'll get it on the currently shipping single boiler Go and the dual boilers, the Pro 300, 600, and Drive. On ECM machines, it's on the single boiler Classicas and Puristicas and the dual boiler Synchronica, including the special limited edition AMG Synchronica. Now, fast heating works on all the machines by overheating the boiler. For instance, on the Profitec Drive over here, it's going to take it way hotter than normal, all the way up to 266 Fahrenheit. Then it's going to hold the boiler at that temperature for 270 seconds. Then you're going to get a message to flush. So you'll lift the lever and flush out the overheated water until the machine says ready, go. Flush on the Drive takes about 20 seconds. Now as you're flushing that water, it's doing a little double duty, you know, a little extra work, warming up the metal group and heating the portafilter as well. And you're drawing new cooler water into the boiler from your reservoir or your plumbed connection if you're going that way, which brings down the temperature of the overheated water in the boiler. Now, in my testing of the Drive, it was just about 11 minutes from power on to ready to brew. And I'll tell you, that's a lot faster than the usual 30-minute heat up time. Fast heat times for all the E61 machines are going to run in that 10 to 12 minute range. Then it's going to be about 8.5 minutes for machines with ring groups like the Go and Pro 300. The process using Fast Heat, it's similar on all the machines, so they're going to heat up and then give you that flush message. When you get that, you start the pump by lifting the brew lever on an E61 machine or pushing the brew switch on a machine like the Profitec Go. And then you're going to continue flushing until you get that ready, go message. So total flush time is going to be like 10 seconds on the smaller ring group machines and about 20 seconds on the big ones. Then after that, your machine is going to be ready to brew. Now, if you don't do the flush within 1 minute of getting the message, depending on the machine, it's going to alternate with the flush message and the current temperature in the boiler, or just show you the boiler's temperature. While it's doing that, you can still do a flush and determine when to stop flushing using visual cues. What you'll be looking for is smoothing flow and, less steam from the portafilter, indicating that the water coming out is no longer flash boiling. Now, if you don't do the flush, the machines, they're going to settle right back down to brew temperature. So, if it's been like 20 minutes or so and you haven't touched the machine, you're probably going to be good with your brew temperature, even if you're running the fast heating. Now, a couple of things to know about the fast heat function. First, fast heat only operates when you turn the machine on and the temperature in the boiler is below 40 Celsius or 104 Fahrenheit. So if you turn off a hot machine, then turn it back on before it cools all the way down to below that 104 degrees, the fast heat, it's not going to run. And that's fine because, all your components are still going to be pretty darn warm. Second, except for the Profitec drive, the fast heat feature wasn't fully rolled out to machines we're shipping until the end of the first quarter of 2024. But all these listed, currently shipping machines have the fast heat function. Machines other than the Profitec drive purchased earlier than the end of the first quarter of 2024, they may not have the fast heat feature, and unfortunately, there's no way to upgrade the earlier machines with the fast heat function. Now, of course, you also want to heat up the portafilter. You've got another pound of potentially cold metal there. Notice mine's always locked into the drive over here when I'm not using it, and that's where your portafilter should always be when the machine is warming up and when it's not in use, so it stays nice and warm. If cold, it can suck the heat right out and reduce your brew temperature too. So what can you do to speed up the heat up and have your machine ready to go faster? Well, you can run what's called blank shots. So once your machine is near brewing temp on the display in the boiler there, with your empty portafilter attached, you're going to just run some water through it. So, lift a lever or push your brew button, and you're going to run some of that hot water through your group and portafilter to help warm them. And now, even if you're not using an E61 machine, if it's got a ring group like on the Go or another machine with that setup, you can use that technique to heat things up, because even those ring groups, they got a lot of metal in them that can cool down your brew if they're not fully warmed up. Now, even on larger E61 machines, if you run a few blank shots, once your boilers are up to temperature, that could get you ready to go in maybe 15 minutes instead of 30. So best practices, keep your portafilter in the machine when it's warming up, and you can speed up the warm up of your group and portafilter by running those blank shots. Now, let's say you don't have that fast heat feature, but you want your machine ready to brew on your schedule. Of course, the easy way to do that is with a smart plug or, an appliance timer. So long as your machine has a mechanical power switch, you can have it turn on and off on your schedule. Maybe even control it remotely if it's like one of the Wi-Fi ones. Now, if you're not sure if you have a mechanical power switch, you can find out really easily. Just turn the machine on, unplug it from an outlet, then plug it back in. If the machine turns back on, it's a mechanical switch, and you can be controlling it using that smart plug or an appliance timer or something similar. If you do that, just make sure the device is rated to handle the power load of your machine. So check your manual for that, or usually you're going to see a sticker somewhere on the machine that will tell you how much power it draws. Now, I hope that's helped you out. Now, do check out the Profitec drive. I've put a video of that linked up here or down in the description. In that one, I do some brew temperature testing when using the fast heat function, see just how accurate those temperatures are after the fast heating. And also dive deeper into the machine's advanced functions like active and passive pre-infusion and a whole lot more. It is a really cool machine. I'm Mark. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll subscribe to the channel and come back soon for more of the best in everything coffee, brought to you, of course, by Whole Latte Love.